The deepest meaning why I get on was because Kendo was the real balance in my life when happened a bad situation in my life, when there is something special. Always I was able to translate this emotional moment during the practice. In my Kendo came out my soul. It was really natural for me to find myself during the practice. What changed especially my vision around Kendo was my Japan travel, the first one, because the first time I moved mainly not to play Kendo, but to know the culture from Japan. I thought it was very important to find out what there is behind the practice, because the physical practice comes from a culture, 1,000 years of culture. And I moved around to Japan to discover what Japan is.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Tokushikai Inside Look podcast. Today we're speaking with Christian Filippi from Gossolengo, Italy. Christian has been training Kendo for over 38 years, during which time he's represented Italy as a player in 9 European Championships, 5 World Championships, as well as coach of the Croatian National Team in 3 Europeans and 1 WKC. Christian currently holds the rank of renshi Rokudan Kendo and has decorated past as Italian champion 4 times, European team champion once, 3rd place at the Worlds, and fighting spirit at the European Kendo Championships. In this wide-ranging conversation, we talk about the importance of understanding the culture of a people and the origins of Kendo, the value of remembering your first experiences to share with the next generation, and to adapt and refine the goal of your practice over time. I found this conversation especially insightful into how a person changes over time through life experiences, relationships, and taking on responsibility, and I'm grateful for all the wisdom Christian shared in this short time we had to speak. I'm looking forward to many more conversations with him in the future, so please enjoy this wide-ranging conversation with Christian Filippi from Italy.
I'm 41. I was born in Alessandria, in the northwest of Italy. I started to play Kendo around 13 years old. I started with Aikido when I was 5 years old, yes. And then I continued both together after 13 until 19. Then I moved for university. I moved in Verona. It means 17 kilometers on the east side of Italy. And in there was impossible to me to organize myself with new city, new lifestyle, and continuous both activities. So I get on with Kendo only. And I studied sport, university science. So since the beginning, I wanted to somehow revolution the vision of martial art and Kendo in a new kind of eye. So with a new look, I can say, because in my opinion, it's very important to maintain tradition. Because we are doing traditional activity, it is very important to maintain Budo as Budo is, but also we have to develop with the modern period. I mean, if we want to involve the new generation in a traditional Kendo or martial art, we also to interest younger people to adapt what is new with what is tradition.
So that line of thinking, I think there could be a lot of influences in your life from your parents, from your society, from your own thinking, your exploration. Maybe go back a little bit to your early childhood.
Yeah.
What interested you in starting the martial arts? Was it something that you saw something and then you pushed your parents into doing it? Or was it something your parents put you in?
Yes, it was very casual. I started with tennis when I was 5 years old. Then, honestly, I always loved every sport. I was interested to everything was movement. But my parents had some problem to maintain me under a good education because I was very terrible when I was a kid. Not a bad kid, but I mean, difficult to manage. And then we're searching for something that was able to help them for my education. So friends of them suggested in that period Aikido especially because he had experience there. But generally, a martial art situation. So there is a very good educational profile behind every martial art activity. Then started introduced to me Aikido. And let's start. I started to play that. I enjoyed. In that period, I get on also with a bit of soccer, a bit of tennis, a bit of ski, many others. But at the end, always I came back to play Aikido. And somehow inside of me, something say that was right choose because I felt always in a good balance with myself. And getting on, I started Kendo really casually too, just because I want to try fencing, but wasn't a school of fencing in my city. And after Aikido lesson, I was waiting for my parents to pick me up in the dojo and started a Kendo lesson. So I was really attracted from the mask and atmosphere, the louds. I was kid, so just passionate, but not especially from something I can say. Anyway, I wanted to start, but around 10 years old, I was too young. In that period in Italy wasn't a kids course. So I had to wait for a little bit. So around 13 years old, I started. And I was the youngest. Even was a young group for that period, historical period. Young group means between 20 and over. So I was really younger than others. But with me started also 2 or 3 friends of mine, my age, 15, 14, 16, like that. Came from Aikido too, also them. A little group. I enjoy. I really liked to strike. I finally someone asked me to loud as strong as I can, different from school that every teacher says to shut up, please. And and I was really passionate. Then I was able to win really soon. I was able to strike Ippon, and of course this means a big motivation for a kid. I discover to be able to do something good in short time, and that was why I started and continues for the first period. Going on in different period of my life, of course, the meaning why I go on changed. Even now, when I think in my past, the deepest meaning why I get on was because Kendo was the real balance in my life. When I left from ex-girlfriend, when happened a bad situation in my life, one of my best friend died in a crash accident by car, when there is something special, also in positive way, not only in bad way. In my life, always I was able to translate this emotional moment during the practice. In my Kendo came out my soul, and wasn't because I studied how to do that, but was really natural for me to find myself during the practice. So I always feel at home even when it's uncomfortable, because when it's uncomfortable the practice is because something is not in balance inside of me, and during the training or period of training I find myself again, and everything around me is coming better, or is coming in better balance, even in job or personal life. So it's really a good exchange. What happened in Kendo really come out in my life and really come out in my Kendo. So I love to play many sports, but nothing take this rule in my life as Kendo did. So this was and is still great now. Yes.
So you're saying all these benefits that are coming from the practice are kind of gradual and show up in circumstances when you have something happen in your life. When did you started being more active in pursuing Kendo beyond just your dojo? When did you start thinking about going to other places, participating in tournaments, even going to Japan?
Yeah. In the first part of my Kendo life, I didn't move so much. I moved with my club to the tournament or something like that, but wasn't so useful here to move, because when I started, weren't so many clubs easy to arrive by car or something. You need to travel maybe over 2 hours or something like that, or go in foreign places like France, for example. So I used especially seminars for that. I loved to travel in Germany, in France a lot, something like that. Then going up around 18, when I was able to drive myself, I moved around to other clubs in Italy also, just during the week, not for seminars, but for regular Keiko. And that was great because, of course, you meet new people, you meet new styles, how to teach that, a new point of view. I had a chance to meet new teachers and players who actually still are in Kendo, and many others maybe stopped, but still we are in good connection. This was very, very great for me. And my personal formation is coming from all this kind of experience. Of course, a seminar is very important. Seminars are very important because teacher is showing you a point of view, some technique, some didactical structure, but what stay inside of you is the people, are the people. And positive people really help to you to test the experience. So what is great is the atmosphere you are able to build with them, no matter what is the teaching, but how you live that. That is really the key how to test the experience. This is my opinion. Everything can be very important if you are in good mood to receive that lesson. And you have to search for this good mood. This is your job. A teacher can give an instruments, but then you have to use appropriately.
So was it the result of going to these different dojos and seeing this that you decided to apply for sports science at school?
Yeah, I started to teach soon. I think too soon, because I started around 23 years old to have a responsibility of a club. Club means we were 3 people because in that age I was in Verona on third year of my university, and the club was CUS Verona. CUS means CUS, means University Sports Center. Actually, I'm still technical director, but now we are around 40 people. But in that age, the course fell down for many reasons, mainly because was confusion around federations. In Italy, we are being 3 or 4 federations in few years. We are born 3 or different federations. And at the beginning, of course, wasn't harmony between those groups, because who was in one federation wasn't enemy, but not always in good relation with other clubs and other federations, of course. But year by year, this fortunately changed. And in that age, CUS Verona needs someone who come from outside the system. And I was outside the system because I was too young to be included in politics. And I was still player, so still interested to play with Shinai in the hands, not to talk about that, but to play with that. And it was interesting for them to choose someone like me who was there. And also I came from outside of that city. So I was not included in the relationship inside of all the players from Verona and something like that. Anyway, I started with 3 members, then still play actually with me, are the senpai of club. And I changed my teaching style year by year as I changed my kendo. Of course, since the beginning, I tried to maintain a kind of combination between university culture around sport and Budo culture. Were being always this kind of combination. But I was teaching, and at the same time, I was still student. Of course, we never stopped to study, but in that period, especially, I was still very, very student because I was very young, and I moved regularly in other town and in other club, maintain my personal training. So once, twice a week, I was out of Verona to have my kendo lesson, and twice a week I stayed in Verona to teach. And it was very good because also my students followed me. So we moved together sometimes around Italy to increase our lesson. I moved my style and my vision around kendo. What changed, especially my vision around kendo, was my Japan travel, the first one, because the first time I moved mainly not to play kendo, but to know the culture from Japan. I thought it was very important to find out what there is behind the practice, because the practice, physical practice, come from a culture, 1,000 years of culture. And I traveled to discover historical sites, to talk with also some sensei. I had only 3 trainings in 3 weeks. So really, really pure practice experience. But I moved around to Japan to discover what Japan is.
Could you describe how you were doing that? What was a day like when you were there? What type of activities did you do to explore these different parts?
Well, of course, Tokyo, but then I moved from the north to the south. In 3 weeks, I moved more than half country. Of course, main towns, Osaka, but also little towns. I discovered that you can find the tradition, especially in little towns, in not the main areas. And what catched to me especially about this was how Japan culture was able to combine the new devolution and new Western way to live the life with traditional Japanese style way to live the life. So I was really catched from this kind of contradiction, but this contradiction was in perfect harmony somehow to my eye, of course. For example, you can find a historical temple in the main center of Tokyo, but not only for tourists. I mean, that size lived from the normal people. Them goes there to find Buddhism, to find Shintoism, to live really what that place means. In Italy, we are full of culture, for example, historical and church cultures and everything, but many places are for tourists. We are going there to visit something not with the original soul. And this is very different, for example. So I was really catched from this. And then, of course, I was young. I also visited the clubs and I saw something different way how to enjoy, for example. I can show this example that catched me a lot. I see people who were dancing inside the club all around, but the approach with new people, or when you want to invite a lady to dance with you, were very formal, very elegant, very polite, and you can't find this approach in Italy, for example. So there is always in every part of the daily life a kind of combination between what is formal, what is tradition, and what is new. So new music, Western style, how to dance, but there is always a kind of combination. You have to see the detail about this, and it's really interesting. So always I try to live in that way when I'm there because I'm a host there. So I have to respect that way to live the life. And not always is easy because, for example, in a negative way, I can say for this point, there is what is right and what is wrong, but there is only one way to be right. And sometimes I don't feel understood when I try to be kind or when I try to be gentle. If I try a different way to be polite, a different way to be gentle, often is not understood. And so this is very rigid approach to the daily life, for example. This is not positive to my opinion. But of course, it's my job to find a right way to be understood there because it's not my house. I'm just a host and I have to find the key to introduce myself in the daily life and not disturb the right order of that country.
So that seems like a very influential trip for you. How did your life change when you came back?
I'm often in contradiction with my culture because I think around the world, I moved a lot during my life thanks to Kendo seminars and events. And I can say really the humanity is living, respecting each other and the space almost in similar way. You as human person, of course, accept what is positive. You recognize what is not positive for yourself and for the others. Religions and countries, flags, different symbols, talks different languages, but at the end, not telling differently concepts. Everything is speaking about the similar thing or same thing, just in different way. And our job when we move around the world is to find which way is right in that place of the world. And I have to start from there. So in that way, I can be listening. I can find a relationship. So when I came back, of course, I tried to find out the connection between my culture, Italian culture. I can't talk about the European because Europe is very various too. But Italian culture, connection between Italian culture and Buddha culture. I can say Buddha culture. I mean, Eastern culture is too general. So Japanese culture. When I moved in Korea, for example, was different too. So I found out another way to live Buddha, not less passionate, not less quality, nothing less, just different. So this was very interesting because I discovered a new version of my culture and I started to be interested to historical information. So I discovered with new eyes what happened in Europe, what happened in Italy, how we arrived here now in 2020, but since before the Roman Empire. And I started to study what happened in the historical with a new mind. So this was what changed more in my daily life.
Yeah, that's amazing, but also helpful to go somewhere else that's completely different than your own, where you were raised, and noticing that there's such a deep and rich history there, and then realizing that, oh, when you come home, there actually is similar things. So it does give you a different view on it. And I think that's one of the values of traveling to different places, to seeing how they act.
When I started to be coach of Croatian National Team, I started to study, not the language because it's almost impossible, but it's very difficult language, but historical part of that country. I started to study what happened in ex-Yugoslavia, what happened before of ex-Yugoslavia, and what happened after that war. Why separation, why Croatia became independent, and of course, consequently, why Serbia, why Montenegro, why ex-Yugoslavia became what actually is, why them consider themselves Balkan in somehow, but also Mediterranean in some other way, and what means for that country Tito period or Ottoman Empire before. And I started from there, and I found out a good way to communication with the Croatian people before, and then we can talk about player. Yeah.
Very nice. Let's continue on that point, because I know you have involvement. You mentioned the Croatian team, you've been to the World Kendo Championships, you've been to Kitamoto, you've helped Andre, who's from Serbia. So talk about these experiences going to different places and interacting with Kendo people, and what have you learned from them and what have you been able to give?
Yeah. That was great. I can start from Kitamoto because what was the start point of my Balkan experience, I guess. From there, I met the president of Croatian Federation. Honestly, he recognized me because we met in Italy, something like 10 or 12 years before, but I didn't remember, honestly. And we met in airport, in the toilet, and he recognized me. Ciao. But are you Kendo player? Yeah, you don't remember to me, and like that. But he's a really amazing person, and we really became friends in short time during Kitamoto week. From there was born this personal connection, and after a few months was born this crazy idea from him to propose to be national coach. And I was just came out from an experience with my federation in Italy, and I stopped 1 year before to play, and I followed also a junior category, I mean kids category, like helpers, nothing too officer. And so I say, well, why not? Let's try. So this is really great. I feel grateful for this chance to me. And I took this proposal very seriously, as everything I do, because I want to be not like a Muppet around with just a national sport where there is no meaning. I want to work seriously. I want to obtain some score. We talk about what is a federal goal and in how long time. And okay, let's start. We started, and the first year was just the first touch. In that year was born my second kid, so I had to delay a couple of meetings. Also, bad weather, other meeting because the border between Italy and Croatia was closed for the snow. So the first year was a way to know each other through some seminars, especially in the spring period and summer period. And but I didn't do so big job, honestly. I recorded some lesson to send, and we met in somehow. But then we started to work more seriously, and was great experience. Still, I'm affected to each one member because I met even people who are not in national team, but who were able to give a lot to me and to the national team. So helping as team manager, helping be in the meeting, for example, when you organize a seminar and you have the best historical number in official organization, is really great. I have a very big responsibility with each one of them, no matter how long he's practiced or how high is his level. He is there and need my help, so I give my best to each one of them. And we also obtained some good results in European, some fighting spirit in one for each European we played, and one in the last World Championship. But honestly, I was really happy about the connection of National Kendo. I worked especially on this. I let them understand how important to move between clubs, how is important the connection between the leaders of dojo and teachers. Because when teachers start to move around the country, of course, his players start to follow him, and he is showing a way to a connection way. So you can exchange your style, your point of view, and it's not a seminar, but everything is a seminar somehow in this way. Exchange experience is a seminar. And also I was happy in the last couple of years to see a member of different clubs moved in unofficial seminars, also in Austria, for example, anyway, out of Croatia, together, organizing themselves, okay, take the car, 3 members from 3 or 4 different clubs all together move, and we met there without say nothing. I discovered them were there, for example, and this is great because them can do alone. Them don't need me to understand how it's important to go and pick experience around the Europe or around the world. Some of them came in Japan with me, for example, and that was great. Even 2 guys, not national team player officer, for example, but them came with me in Japan and we get a great experience together. So yeah, to talk about a national team, you need a big base, big number of players, big passionate people. Without that, you don't have a national team today, especially you don't have tomorrow. So this was my main goal with the federation. And in somehow we obtained something good. Also talking with the Lukic president, he was happy and the circuit was happy. So.
And I'm sure you're able to pass on a lot from your own personal experiences participating in different championships. Could you talk about any one particular, I think maybe the World Championships or something that was especially memorable to you?
I get 5 World Championships and 9 Europeans, but still I remember my first European Championship was in Bologna, so in Italy, at home, we can say. But honestly, I was not in the top 5, but the destiny wanted me to fight in the semi-final. I didn't expect to play, but one player wasn't in good shape and injury somehow, and I fought in the semi-final, and I scored my first ippon there, so I was so stressed. I still remember how rigid were my arms and how I was very far from my regular feeling when I played in that arena. But still is really great to think about, because when I teach to my players, I never forget my first time in something, in that condition or in Italian championship. First time is very important. To remember to you what means to do something for the first time. That is important. So you can understand the beginners players and help them emotionally more than technically. And then the World Championship in Glasgow, of course. The Italy team was my first World Championship, and the Italy team was the first European team to be in the first 3 at the end of the tournament. But who can imagine we can obtain that score? I remember the team was very mixed. Team was with senator of Italian Kendo, so people 10 years and over than me, and the other group, me, and we were almost the same age, 10 years less or more, so between 18 and 20 years old, all of us. And the other, of course, for me, was to fight next to the god. When I fought next to Pomero, next to Petri, next to Scarcella, for me, where my goal the day before was to beat them in Italian Championship. And now we are fighting all together in the same team against the rest of the world. It's great, it was something special. And when I step in the arena, I really felt something incredible, because the day after I discovered another level of Kendo, another dimension of everything, of tension, of emotion, of technique. When I was a few steps from the Japan team or Korean team or USA team and Canadian team, and I mean, monsters for me, monsters. Brazilian team was another level from mine, and how can I cross my Shinai with them? I really can't imagine. That experience was incredible. I didn't overlap the pool, because in the pool was French champion, Sicard, and Japan champion. And me, I was first time Italian champion. So this was my pool, but I did everything I had against Japan player, of course, was my first match. I was able to lose 1-0 at the end of the match. But inside, I thought to lose 5 or 6-0, I don't know. I felt other scores on me that referee didn't give, so for sure, maybe it wasn't, but inside of me, I was catching in my heart. And when I came out, immediately I had to fight against a French player. I give my best, but I hadn't anything else to give. So I was a muppet in his hand or something like that. But the main experience, of course, was the day of team competitions, because there we start to fight, and during that days we had a special atmosphere between each other in the team. So perfect balance between older and younger player. Between the younger, we were able to connect to each other in perfect way, to not disturb each other, but to push up each other in the best condition, mentally talking and tensionally talking too. So we did something special. We beat Hungary team. In that case, I was the Taisho against Herdley. Herdley was European champion just a few months before, 1 year before, and I was able to beat him. So we passed thanks to that match. And next we beat Brazilian team. In that case, Brazilian team was over than our level, but we had some halo, something special that is not called kendo, is not called technique, is something you can repeat, astral combination, maybe I can say. And we were able to beat the Brazil team and then approach against Japan. I fought against Eiga. You know what I mean? I fought against Eiga. So it was like to be with a god inside of the same space. And I didn't understand very clearly what happened, but it was another level. Really, I was focused to do my best about technique and everything, but what missed to me, honestly, was the real conviction to be able to beat him. I never had that passion inside of me, and that was wrong. I should have this warrior spirit. Maybe I wasn't able to have warrior spirit 100% because in somehow we recognized to be in the first three. Even we lost that match. And this point stole to me the right energy that I had till before. So this was my main mistake, honestly. But the team was something special. And really, I never had the same feeling or same experience after. Even when we won European, was totally different. Also because I was in another age, for sure.
Yeah, there's so much that you learn and you kind of experience and you gain from growing up and from going through these experiences. And you've mentioned over the course of this interview so far several times that how you think about how you understand kendo and how you approach it has changed. Could you talk a little bit about that? Like, what are these different transitions in time, and then to the present, how do you think about it now?
Yeah. I try to be clear about this. I mean, it's not like a chair you open and close, or a button you switch on and you switch off, or you switch on another button. So it's not a clear step in your life. You change as human person, and there is a kind of fluid. The air is fluid too, and the liquid, the water we are made, is fluid. So we are moving with fluidity, and you discover to be changed after you change it. This is my feeling. I don't know the other people, but I recognize to change when I'm already changed. And what changed? Change my age, not only my kind of experience, but my life experience. And the people who are next to you in that moment, of course, give to you a point of view. A point of view of the reality. So there is objectively one reality, but there is one reality for each one of us, because it depends what look have you on that reality. And the same reality is different for each one of us in different moment of our life, because depends what experience you are having in that period or you had before that moment. So how changed? Changed because when you are a player and you have also teacher responsibility, you leave the teacher responsibility in different way compared now when I'm playing for enjoy myself. I still play some competition, but my main focus is to give my experience to my players, for example. And change also, for example, when I wasn't father, I see kids 8 years old a little bit differently, like older brother. Now I live the experience with kids like a father, and this means really different message or different way how you give this message. How can I explain better than this? No, it's different. It's difficult for me to let you understand what exactly changed. For sure, changed and changed with me. Changed my goal, But I still remember when I started to study at Sport University, the second time I was in Japan, I had the chance to talk during dinner at the senpai of Osaka University. In that period, the senseis were Sakudo sensei and Kanzaki sensei. And the main senpai was Ito sensei. Ito sensei is a bit older than me, I think a couple of years, something like that. And we were talking during the dinner, and he asked me, what is your main goal in Kendo? Not exactly why you are playing Kendo. What is your final goal? If you think as much future as you can. And already I was around 25, I think. I already say I want to revolution Italian Kendo system and maybe European Kendo system. So still I have that goal. So even I changed and was changing my way how to approach on Kendo and everything, but didn't truly change my most final goal in my way. And who knows when, if I will really be able to revolution Kendo as I have in mind. I don't know.
Well, if someone were to ask you, what are you most passionate about now? What are you thinking about all the time now with respect to Kendo? What would that be? What are you really focused on now in terms of Kendo?
Yeah, now I have the difficult problem how to manage Kendo in this COVID period. Thinking very short in the time, I mean, how to train tomorrow, how to train today, how to respect Kendo in his techniques and his teaching, and in the same time, how to respect the safety of my players, how to pass them a good feeling about Kendo experience and about health feeling. So it's very far. I never expected could happen a moment where I have to search for a big compromise between Kendo teaching, traditional Kendo teaching, and true life condition. So COVID really is influencing my teaching way during this 2020. This is the first point. And the second point is, since 1 month, I have the rule of under 18, so teenagers and kids, Italian community from Italian Federation. So I'm focused on them. I'm focused on the schedule for the next 4 years. But this is not so hard for me. I mean, I already was focused on kids and young players because in my club, in Kendo Cus Verona, and also in the club of my wife, where I'm actually living in Piacenza, the Shoryukan, we were already investing in the new generation since long time. So I don't have to make a revolution on my way of teaching because I still was very focused on the kids, junior. I'm talking in different way because every age needs a different kind of approach. Teenager is different from a kid, needed another teaching style compared to 8 or 12 years, for example. So different age needs something different between. Anyway, now I'm focused on those two arguments. And about myself, when I have time to think about myself, so very rarely, I have to not forget my sudden done because I should have that around February 2021, but I come from a really terrible season. I hadn't chance to play for over 3 months. And then I played a fake Kendo, we can say, during all the summer till now, because only with I can strike the Muppet, I can do Suburi. I was focused on my personal physical training to be in good shape, but very few Jigeiko because it was just, I think, a couple of months, no more. In a couple of months, we were able to have Jigeiko, to have a direct contact with the partner because of COVID. So it's really pure preparation. But anyway, my idea, if COVID let me move outside of Italy, my goal, personal goal, is to go under commission eyes and to challenge with myself and to see what I'm able to do. So the exam for me is always a checkpoint. There isn't, this year I have to prepare my exam. Every day I have to prepare myself to maintain what I obtained and to go up for my passion because I want to go up. I want to be better than yesterday. I want to check myself, even I'm getting older, with new players, stronger, physically stronger than me and with more stamina than me. And like I want to play with higher level sensei than me. I mean, it's always a challenge. I am sensei of myself every time I hold Shinai, So the exam will come and I will be there.
Great. So approaching the end of this interview, I want to just ask you a few quick questions just to let us know you a little better, a little more on the lighter side. So first question would be, you're busy in so many things. You have your work, you have your family, you have Kendo, your own practice, and teaching others. If you didn't have all of those responsibilities, if you had like, say, 15 minutes to yourself to pursue some kind of interest or to enjoy something, what would that be?
To eat. I love to eat. No, I'm not joking. I mean, looks like a joke, but it's not exactly. What I want to say is this. If I have 15 minutes for myself, I really like to test the life like I was 15 years old. This is the meaning of my sentence. In that age, when I was teenager, I was really focused on me, and my friend was my family. A family that I choose, because you born in a family that you don't choose, but the family you choose are your friends. You choose who spend your time and your experience. So I want, with my sentence, I want to eat my life like I was 15, 17, 18, like that. Then my personal character, my personal profile is devoted to the others usually. So when I was player, always I was thinking about my team or about the player who is playing with me, not against, but in my team. That's why I was captain, of course, in the club, but I mean also in national team, Italian national team of my generation. There were at least 2, 3 really strong character players, really top players and top also individual person. And I was constantly focused on how to connect this energy for the benefit of everybody. So personally, I'm not, how to say, in bad word is egoist, but I don't want to say badly. Just to think only to myself is far away from my attitude, that is. But when I was between 15 and 18, I was able to do that. And yes, I would like to eat again like I did in that period.
So you mentioned eating. My next question would be, what is your comfort food? What is something that like you just think about if you have a chance, you just want to eat it and it makes you feel good or reminds you of some time or...
What miss mostly when I'm outside of Italy is pasta. Pasta asciutta is the main one for me. The main one food I can eat.
Could you
Yeah.
describe that? I
I
don't...
mean, when I'm in Japan, I love Japan cuisine. I love Canaria meat. I can eat everything. But after 2 weeks and more, I really feel is missing carbonara or ragu. Those two are the main, the top. But it's psychology, of course. My body is feeling good. I can test every other kind of food. But yes, pasta ragu are the top one. And I have this conversation sometimes with Christopher Young, USA actually coach, because he been in Italy. He visited my home, my house when we were very young, and then from time to time he comes to Italy in Roma usually for job. So we still remember carbonara of my mother when we talk to each other. And actually we have a common friend, a friend of us who is living in Roma. She's called Fiammetta, Kendo player too, but master Acidan of Matriciana. So we talk about those two dishes from time to time. Yes.
Yeah. When restaurants open here, I definitely need to go for some pasta as well. Thank you so much, Christian, for this. Do you have any closing words, anything you want to say or ask of the audience just to wrap up?
Yeah, first thing is I wrote this answer on your page is really thank you to everybody who wanted to listen to me and who still are here to listen to me till the end. Thank you for your invitation, of course, in advance. But I love to have a feedback, usually also after seminar, very honest feedback. How was the lesson? How was the teaching? I want to have a feedback because it's important to understand what arrived to the people who are listening to you. I can have my idea from inside as teacher, but it's very important to have the opposite, who stay at the opposite side, how he lived the experience. So in somehow, if someone of the audience wanted to write to you or directly to me, how he lived this interview, what find interesting and what not. So I have a good feedback how was this experience from the listening persons.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way. I close all of these interviews with asking for feedback. And it's very rare too, because a lot of people might feel bad that, oh yeah, I don't want to say something bad to you, or I don't want to share anything. Because it's just useful for us. We just want to improve. So yeah, I completely agree. So thank you so much for taking your time with this.
Thank you again. Really, I will be glad to meet you in the future personally.
Yes, me too. I would love to meet you. And we'll have some pasta together.
I will cook for you.
All right, that's a promise.
Of course. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye to everybody. Bye.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode because we have a lot more exciting conversations to share as we explore the world of the traditional Japanese martial arts. The Inside Look podcast is available on most common podcasting platforms and on YouTube. Remember to subscribe to not miss out on new interviews as they are posted. We're always looking for feedback to improve, so please write us a review or drop us a line at podcast@tokushikai.ca or on Facebook and Instagram at tokushikai.canada. Until next time, thanks for listening.